I'll be honest. For a long time, I was pretty sure that hot and sour soup was really one of those more American takeout dishes. See, while you can definitely find a few different swanlatangs or hot and sour soups around the country, even up north, it's nowhere near as ubiquitous as it is in takeout joints abroad. Everywhere, that is, except for Wuxi. If you're not familiar with the town, Wuxi is one of the oldest cities in the Jiangsu province, and, as it turns out, probably the origin of hot and sour soup. The sources are murky, but that soup is likely based off of an older, and, in China at least, better known soup from the Henan province, hulatang or hot pepper soup. The la or hot in both referring to the zing of white pepper. The Wuxi version added some of the region's famed Zhenjiang vinegar to the mix, and what you would probably recognize as hot and sour soup was born. So that's the version that we wanted to show you today. Whatever the history, what is certain is that this soup is absolutely incredible, and, to be honest, actually what made me a convert of the dish. But right, to get started with hot and sour soup, we'll need broth, a beef broth to be exact. Here we had 500 grams of beef shank, and before you do anything, first toss that in some cool water to soak. The water will draw out a bit of the myoglobin and make for a cleaner tasting soup, so let that sit for at least 1 hour. An hour later now, transfer the beef over to a pot. Then, together with your meat, toss in 2-star anise, a half teaspoon Sichuan peppercorn, 1 teaspoon of white peppercorn, a 2-inch knob of ginger, 1 sprig of scallion tied in a knot, and a solid glug or about 2 tablespoons of liaojiu, aka Shaoxing wine. Then fill it up with water until the beef's completely submerged. Cover, and over a high flame, bring that all up to a boil. And once it's at a boil, turn the flame to the lowest heat your stove will go, cover, and let that simmer for at least 2 hours. So as that's simmering, let's prep our dried ingredients. There is a bunch of stuff that'll go in this hot and sour soup, but these are the ones that'll need to be soaked in advance. Here we had 5 grams muar or wood ear mushrooms, 20 grams huanghuacai dried daylilies, which do seem to be readily available at Chinese supermarkets abroad, and 5 grams dried shiitake mushrooms, all of these soaked, by the way, using cool water. Then, this last dried ingredient here is sweet potato noodles, which is a classic for the dish and also widely used in Korean cooking, so they should be able to be found at most Asian supermarkets. Let those soak for about 2 hours, or until the broth is done cooking. So right, after 2 hours, your beef should be tender enough that you can poke through the thing with a chopstick. So shut off the heat, and once it's cool enough to handle, after about 20 minutes, transfer over to a cutting board. Then shred that by first slicing it into chunks, then pull those apart into strings. You definitely don't need to be too paranoid here. Something like this would be totally fine. So then, together with that shredded beef, we'll also be cooking this with 250 grams silken tofu, the firm sort, cut into half-centimeter sheets, then again into half-centimeter slivers. 50 grams chenjiang, which abroad seems to be labeled as soy tofu sheets, folded twice hot dog style, and once in the other direction and sliced into half-centimeter slivers. We've also got here our previously soaked ingredients. The daylilies were prepped by slicing them into 1-inch pieces, the shiitake mushrooms got their stems removed and julienned, the sweet potato noodles were cut down to the same size as the daylily, and the muar were given a couple rough chops in each direction. So with the exception of the daylilies and shiitake mushrooms, feel free to just skip anything that you have trouble sourcing here, because one of the most classic additions in this Wuxi version is fried seitan puffs. So, yeah, I know, I get the sense that this one might end up a bit of a sourcing headache, so if you can't find these, our recommendation would be to swap these with youtiao fried dough, or, again, just skip it. But then, with all of that prepped, we can finally make our soup. So this recipe makes for 4 servings, and for authenticity bonus points, here we're making an individual serving in our adorable little clay pot. So for this 1 serving, add in a quarter of the mushrooms, the daylilies, and the sweet potato noodles, and top with 350 milliliters of that beef broth. Then toss the flame to medium-high and season with a quarter teaspoon dark soy sauce, 1 teaspoon light soy sauce, a half teaspoon salt, and a quarter teaspoon of sugar. Give it a mix, then once it's all at a boil, toss in a quarter of the silken tofu. Then thicken with a slurry of 2 tablespoons water, mixed with 1.5 tablespoons of starch, preferably potato starch, but cornstarch would be okay in a pinch. Let it simmer for about 30 seconds, or until thickened to your liking. Then add in 1 teaspoon of white pepper powder, and mix it thoroughly to make sure there's no clumps. Then add in a tablespoon of vinegar, and for this Wuxi hot and sour soup, using Zhenjiang vinegar, aka xiangsu, is unfortunately non-negotiable. Brief mix, then top with a bit of your beef, some of the torn seitan puffs or youtiao, and a handful of chopped cilantro. Drizzle in a touch or about a half teaspoon of toasted sesame oil, and serve. So, At a hot and sour soup joint in Wuxi, this is often eaten alongside a plate of either pot stickers or fried baozi. And just in case you want it like actually spicy hot, a bit of chili oil that you can optionally toss in, but for us, we generally prefer it without.
So there are definitely a few酸辣汤around the country. One interesting version is in Taiwan, they will add duck blood to the mix. I also saw people adding enoki mushrooms, egg drops. I also saw people adding green garlic instead of cilantro. So maybe just like add what you like and make it yours. So right, we'll be off next week. We'll be moving and we're actually leaving Shenzhen and moving to a different city, which is Shandong. And then in the week after, we'll have my dad coming with an old traditional Cantonese street food that he has been wanting to show you guys for a while. As always, check out the red link in the description box for detailed recipe. A big thank you for everyone that's supporting us on Patreon. And of course, subscribe for more Chinese cooking videos.